ready?
We're about to. And let me just reiterate something. This is a real conversation. So someone asked a question about language. The language is part of the military culture. I appreciate in advance the respect, but as I said before, I was a military spouse, so I have heard it all. So
You bullshit.
Hey, Malik, I want that in there so when we start cussing, they know we ain't just doing this
right,
willy-nilly.
right,
yeah.
because that was the instruction that this was to be a real.
It's gonna get deep now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gonna get deep.
Okay. I am Paula G, host of My Journey with Paula G on WATC TV 57. I'm a voice talent, lifestyle print model, author, and contributing writer to Flourish Digital Magazine. And I'm here today to interview these gentlemen to have a real conversation about their service in the military and their journey as they have navigated their journeys in the military and sharing their views, sharing their experiences, and so that we can all have a better understanding and better appreciation for our military servicemen. And I always like to say that you know, as we're sitting around having a conversation, the rest of the world is listening to our conversation. And there was something that was quoted from, first time I heard it was a colonel. And what she was saying was that the military is 1% of the US population, and to protect the other 99%. The 99% that does not always understand what that 1% does, the 99% that does not realize that we're fighting wars in places that they may not have ever heard of, or don't even know that we're fighting wars in those places. So a lot of times that 99%, majority of the time 99% does not understand what you, the 1%, deal with. Am I right?
Very much. True.
So what we want to do today is to have this conversation, and the goal of the conversation, I'm gonna go around, I'm gonna ask everyone, what is it that you want the 99, we're not hating on the 99%.
Mm-hmm.
We just want the 99% to understand the journey. And I know a lot of them sometimes might say, well, you know, that was your choice to go into the military, and it comes with the territory and so forth and so on. Whether it is or not, the point is that there's parts of your journey that have not been heard, and we want our audience to hear that part of your journey. So as we go around, I want you all to introduce yourselves. Your name, branch of service, years of service, rank, MOS. Name, branch of service, years of service, rank, what did I say? MOS.
She just tested me to see if I paid attention.
You know you're asking a lot, right?
I know,
you,
but I help you out with it. Okay, we're gonna start with give us your name and your rank and years of service. We'll start with that.
Curtis Butler III, rank E5, which is a non-commissioned officer, United States Army, 19 years.
19, and MOS?
92 Golf 20.
Okay. All right, before we start, maybe we need to explain to our audience what...
I was a military chef.
So the MOS is a military occupational skill. That's a specialty.
Yeah.
Right. I always get that mixed up. I say skill specialty. So it's the specialty of the service member. Okay. Yes, sir.
I am Curtis Green, spelled with a K.
Spelled with a K.
Not to be confused with Mr. Curtis
With
Butler
Mr.
III.
Curtis. Oh, okay. We're gonna keep it.
I was in the military for 20 years. My MOS was 31 whiskey, I was sergeant first class, promotable, and we'll get into that promotable thing in this for all those that's
Remember that
looking.
promotable.
Yeah, keep that. That's important.
It is. It is.
Yes, and did I do everything?
Name, rank.
Oh, and I was in
Years of-
Signal. I was
Okay.
in Signal Corps.
Okay.
So that covered everything?
All right, I think that's
Okay,
it. I think
cool.
you got it. All right, Mr. Joe.
Joseph Martin. I retired in 2005 after 25 years.
25 years, Joe. Mm-hmm.
Signal Corp.
All right.
Signal Corps.
All right. All right. And did we get the rank?
No rank.
Yeah, did he have rank?
Yeah, he's sitting between two NCOs. He don't want to say
Yeah,
yeah.
he nervous.
You nervous?
Major.
Major. Okay. Thank you, sir. All right.
Yes, I'm Sergeant First Class. Wow. I am Nick Starr. I was Sergeant First Class, retired. I was also in Signal Corps 31 Whiskey, part of the SOBC Corps. We taught officers just coming in. Not the son of a, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
We good?
We good.
Okay.
Jimmy Horton, Major,
Mm.
Signal Corps, Hua, almost 25 years in service, 25 Alpha Tactical Communications,
Army.
Army.
There you go. Ooh. Okay.
Robert O'Brien, 16 Delta, 14 Delta, 00R, recruiting, Hawk missile, Patriot missile.
All right.
Years.
How many years?
How many years?
22 years,
22 years. So we got some years.
Military.
A lot of
We got.
years.
retired.
Yeah.
Military.
Sergeant first class, retired.
Military.
Army.
Army.
Ooh.
Everybody's
Good.
on it.
Everybody's
Yeah,
Army.
everybody.
Frantiero, Frank Green, 26 years, retired first sergeant, Army. I was came in maintenance 63, ended as a first sergeant field artillery.
Okay.
All right.
And that question that you jumped right into
Yes, I know.
about the 99% versus us 1%, I would say that that 1% is probably even smaller, being that viewers, unless you have a black and white TV, well, even if they have a black and white TV, you notice we are all of color.
Yes.
And although that 1% that colonel spoke of, that even a smaller fraction that is of color, and though we here to talk about the big picture, you can tell I'm already starting off militant. I want to talk about the contribution that this 1% has made toward this country that, in my point of view, has yet to start, I would say, payback or acknowledging. You know, they try to
Acknowledging
yeah.
acknowledging the contribution of basically the sacrifices that have been made.
right.
Understanding what the contribution is and understanding the challenge, understanding, navigating, basically serving a country that did not always honor you as a citizen of that company. We can just of that country. We can just jump right into that. How have over the course of your years, how have you all navigated? Well, let me start with this. What brought you to the military in the first place? Let's start with that. What brought you to the military in the first place, Joe?
Now these are Joe words. I joined the Louisiana National Guard prior to graduating high school for myself. The reason was I thought it was going to be another draft, and I wanted to go to college, and the LLA, RNG were going to pay my tuition for college. Upon attending basic training, it became about my country. Once I got my degree in agriculture and had worked with the United States Department of Agriculture and subsequently worked full-time upon graduation, I took a furlough to go active duty. That's when it was country and family. And just quick note, those SAT words, those are all Joe. I don't talk like
You
that.
don't talk.
You didn't tell me he's gonna put 4 and 5 syllables in there.
So okay, so let's talk about that a little bit. Is our reasoning, our reasons in the first place for joining the military, and then we'll go from there as far as your experiences, your respective experiences in the military, some of your frustrations as you've gone through, and like we said before, at the end of all this, we want the audience to understand your journey and acknowledge that journey. So let's start with
All
Curtis.
right. I went in the military 1989 from Brooklyn, New York. You had, we really didn't have that many choices. You either you go to jail or you end up in the funeral home. You know, coming from East New York, there wasn't too many opportunities out there for a young person of color, whether male or female. And I just got tired of seeing people get killed, going to jail, people that I knew, neighbors. And I just wanted to get out and just make something of myself, make my family happy, and be productive.
So it was so you saw it as an option
That saved my life.
that saved your life. You did
Yes.
something to save your life in that particular time period. And it's interesting you say that because, you know, as we go through the years, you know, nowadays young people have so many options. They got a plethora of options. They got all these options. But there was a time period where you had option A, you had option B. So that was why you joined the military. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Kurt.
Yeah,
I
with a
almost said
K.
Curtis.
With a K.
With a K.
Yeah. The reason that I initially joined the military was because I had to get out of the project that I was living in. I had told people, as a lot of us often do, that I was going to college after high school with no idea of how I was going to go to college.
Right.
Well, when it was time to go to college, and I didn't have college to go to, I had to go somewhere. The Army was the somewhere
Was the
that
somewhere to
that
go.
I had to go.
Right.
So initially, and just quick short story, I have two younger brothers. And once upon a time, my mother told me, because I was doing a lot of bad things, and my mother told me that I was a bad example for my brothers. And that probably hurt me more than anything that anybody could have ever said to me. So I knew that when I went in the military, I had to do something to make my mother proud of my decision. And thankfully, and I'm saying this on camera, I am so proud today to have served 20 years and to have two brothers that followed me in the military, and each served 25 and 20 years respectively. So once I got in and I realized, okay, this is what I need to do so that I don't have to go back to that project and not back to being a bad example. So that was my reason for going in.
Okay, so far what I'm hearing is at the time period, it was the best option for a future. Is that fair?
Yes.
That be fair? Okay, and then we got you. We got you. Reasons for going in.
I went into the military for an opportunity. I grew up in rural Alabama, and I had the opportunity to go to a state-sponsored military school, which would have led to a commission, but I came from a large family, and I didn't want to put that burden on my family. So I chose to go into the military to get the GI Bill and to go to college. And once again, it was an opportunity that turned out to be the best decision I could have ever made. Everything I hope to accomplish, I was able to do and get a good start in life by going into the military.
Okay. So again, the option.
The option.
So far, we're looking at not so much about the country, but about the option that you had at that time for a black man in America.
Yes.
Okay.
Up to me?
Yes.
I joined the Army out of New York, Long Island, Hempstead. Reason I went, I had a brother that was already in college after high school. My mother and father didn't really have enough to try to send me. I really didn't have the grades to try to get any type of scholarships and stuff. So I joined the Army. My first 3 years was pretty good. I moved up in rank quick. Then one day, girls came up to me and said, I'm pregnant. Me wanting to do the right thing, because I grew up in a 2-parent household, I married her.
Did the right thing.
I did the right thing.
There you
We
go.
were doing good. She was in service too. One son was born, and then eventually we had twins. We couldn't do that. Both of us working in the military, so she got out. The Army was good to me.
Right.
I liked it. I changed I've been to a lot of places. I changed my jobs while I was in the military. I got out and went back to school and I promised my mother I would go to college. She saw me graduate. So.
Okay, we're going to talk about that life after the military and that transition and how you navigate.
Okay, I actually joined the military. I really want to get away from my mother. After my mother was not a mean person. I love my mother to death, but she came up hard.
Right.
And she was trying to raise three boys. So being at home is, why you out late? So I had a brother that was actually a hometown recruiter who in a way talked me into coming to the military, which is, being honest, is the best choice. That's my brother right there. Well, actually the best choice I ever made.
Right.
I did 26 years, and I found a lot of things about myself that I never even knew existed in me, that I could be a leader. But I joined just to get away from home. Like you say, growing up in the hood, with the rats and the roaches, I didn't want to go through life and do that, have a family like that, grow into that. So to me, I did to get away from home, and it became, like I said, I thank my brother for that. I killed him a lot, but I think it was the best move
For you
that I made. It was the best move that I made.
So we're here with a generation that entered the military because of the option that it was, and what the opportunities that it offered. It wasn't so much about the country.
No.
Right? It was about the opportunities that it offered to get you out of the situations that you were in. So with that being said, you're serving a country that is discriminatory. I know it's a big word.
Sort of, kind of.
Serving a country that discriminates against you. You serve in a country that is not always fair in the courts to you. You serve in a country that does not always treat you fairly. And we would remember Muhammad Ali and his journey, and him refusing to serve. And I think I remember him saying to Viet Cong, I ain't never heard of Viet Cong call me a nigger.
Right.
So why am I gonna go over there and fight somebody that hadn't done anything to me? Why fight for a country that continues to oppress me? So my question to you all is, how were you able to navigate that? And share with us, if you choose to, your feelings as to, this is the best option for me. It's like almost like a double-edged sword. It's the best option, but at the same time, this country doesn't always treat me fairly. The country that I'm fighting for doesn't always treat me fairly. How were you able to navigate through that?
Joe just shared something, a Black History fact that I'm going to share with you, but to go off of what you just said, the fact that this was an option, maybe not the only option, but this was a better option for us, I think speaks volumes to just that point.
Yes.
That because we didn't have, we're in a neighborhoods or living in areas, projects and all this kind of stuff, or areas where there was just no really good possibilities for a young black man other than police, other than jail, or other than, if you weren't a basketball star or football star, getting to college, wasn't a thing. So just the fact that was one of the only opportunities speaks volumes of just the nature of the country we live in.
And the timing.
We should
And the
all,
timing, yeah.
the timing, and we should have all had a lot of opportunities. But this Black history that I'm going to share with you from Joe speaks to the fact that there are people who are in those neighborhoods that kind of put bugs in our ear. They saw maybe something better in Kurt or myself or any of us that, okay, if you keep going this way, this is where you're going to end up. This is another option you can go. Joe shared this with me. A Black history fact that some should know. This man wore many hats. He was coach, teacher, principal, mentor, and the commander of the local LAARNG unit of the Jonesville, Louisiana. How he convinced, recruited so many young men to join National Guard in 1979 is beyond me. Upon finding out I was going to Southern University, he called my dad and told him to enroll me in AROTC. He said, we do not have enough Black officers in the National Guard. So, Coach, I salute you for all you do and your commitment. And then has a nice picture of him on here as well. You know, I'll cut that, but yeah, you notice that was a white brother, right? And so sitting down here talking about the country and what they did, and just the fact that we said, all of us here anyway, it was an option. It wasn't about the country, this, that, and the other. However, once you put in that situation, playing devil's advocate, if we didn't come in for the country, was there any point that the country became a factor?
It could have been.
Because if it never did, then how do we expect anything back?
Most of us came in right after the draft.
Right after the draft.
Right after the draft.
Okay.
So it was an opportunity for a lot of us.
It was voluntary.
Voluntary.
Yeah, voluntary.
Exactly.
Yes, when I went in the basic training, a lot of my fellow basic trainees were the last group of people to draft. And when you went through the dining facility, you had to say what you were like, U.S. meaning drafted or USR or whatever. You had to tell them what your affiliation was, and so you knew who the draftees were. And that was 1972 was the last group of draftees to come into the service. After that, it was the all volunteer army, VOLAR. Volunteer army.
Volunteer
Yes.
army.
I volunteered. I was.
No, he said when you were going through the dining facility,
why
did
did
they
they
make you
make-
say whether you were drafted or whether you?
Right. It was like, like I said, the draftees was U.S. and I think ours was like AR or something. I forget, but everybody had, it was like U.S. for draftees, and I think ours was like AR, Army Reserve, something like that.
But his question was, why was it like that?
Because it was a costing code. I think it had to do with the way that they paid for the meals. That's what. That's what
Boiled down to
Yeah,
money.
right. So
Okay.
they tallied who else, whatever services was there. So it was like kind of
They
like
could charge
accounting.
the service
It was
for your
accounting.
meal.
Yes.
Now, in '76, they weren't still doing that. However, it was sort of like they call it a badge of some type of honor to have volunteered to come in. Because when in '76, there was still a lot of people in that were
had been
drafted.
drafted.
They had been drafted, and so they had no choice. But you were looked at a little bit different if you volunteered to come, and especially if you were in one of those units that were downrange, where most of our brothers hung out. To volunteer to do something like that, there's a stigma that kind of went with that. Some people looked at it, oh, that was honor. Oh, you volunteered, cool. But there was also people that, like, you had no choice, or because of your MOS, depending on what your MOS is, you couldn't do this or you couldn't do that. So it was a lot of stuff that they put along with that separation of those who volunteered and those who were drafted.
So it sounds like there was an internal division.
Oh, yes.
There's internal division.
Oh, and something else that you always got to think about when you're African American. Why you joining the white man's army?
Yes.
It was back then. Why
Okay.
you join
Always
the
the
white-
question.
I never joined the white man's army. You know,
You a
and-
sellout.
Yeah, just to join, for a better life. But I heard that even before I joined the military, which would say I wouldn't want to be in the military because I don't want to join the military.
Well,
I just
excuse
want
me,
to-
but when you say join the white man's army, did I miss the memo on the black man's army?
But no, but like I said, remember everything
I
is
said
said.
it wasn't a choice. It wasn't a choice of the white man's army versus the black man's army. So you see what I'm saying?
Right, but I
But
think
it said that people, everything in life is separated. They separate. This is good. This is bad. So, so like I say, I just say every black person like that. But I heard if a black you join the white man's army, whether you black, why you join the white man? I heard why you join the white man's army. I mean,
Yeah.
right, because to your point, I mean the racism runs deep in this country.
Big time.
It runs deep in this country, and to this day, we're still navigating the racism in this country. So I hear what you're saying. To your point, there was a time when the military was segregated.
Exactly.
Yep.
That was the point.
There was a time when go ahead.
Remember the 40s, World War II, most blacks were relegated to support roles, okay? When you look at the movie Pearl Harbor, you see Cuba Gooding playing a steward, meaning he served the captain.
Right.
And when all else fails, he put down his tray and he went and manned an anti-aircraft gun and shot down planes.
he played Doris Miller.
Yeah, he played,
He
yes.
played Doris
And-
Miller.
And
Yes.
remember also that, Vietnam came along and there was a whole disproportionate number of blacks that served in Vietnam. And that led to all of the
frontline.
black NCOs and the black leadership because people went through black combat. And when I went into service in '72, you saw a lot of senior NCOs that had survived Vietnam. And that was because, a lot of us went in during Vietnam, and we made it through, and a lot of us were killed. But that's when you had blacks rising up through the ranks because, once we got opportunity and, we excelled in the military. Something that we had been denied.
And that was a journey coming up through as well. Let's sit with that for just a second. With the officers coming up, you have black officers, a commission, second lieutenant, first lieutenant. Let me see if I remember. Second lieutenant, first lieutenant, captain,
Major,
lieutenant, colonel,
general,
brigadier,
major,
anyway,
3-star, 4-star,
1, 2, 3, 4
4.
stars. So coming up as let's sit with that for just a second to get the audience to kind of understand. A black officer in the military commanding, whether it's company commander, battalion commander, over white officers. How did you personally navigate, or did others?
The way it worked is, the big thing about the military was it had a system.
Right.
And sometimes the system was fair, sometimes it was kind of skewed. And there was overt racism, there was covert racism. But the bottom line is, the rank you had, you when in charge, take charge. If you were a captain, you acted like a captain. If you were a colonel, you were a colonel. You didn't take. You went out and you did whatever
You had to do.
you had to go out and you had to take charge and be that person. And you didn't take no quarter from anyone, whether they black, white, purple, or green. If you outranked them, then that's right. When you're in charge, you take charge.
So, what about the struggle with? Were there dealings with insubordination that were encountered, or undermining
Once
orders
again,
and mission? No.
Once again, in charge, take charge.
Okay.
And you had your subordinates. The first thing was in the way you carried yourself.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
You had to lead you had to be demonstrative, a type A person. You took no quarter, and when you had people, your subordinates, they did what you told them to do, and if they didn't, you brought them in, you counseled them, you whatever you had to do, you let them know. You know, I'm in charge. I'm the HNIC. Okay, that's me.
Right.
I'm the head. This.
Head nigga in charge.
The head
what
nigga
you
in
say.
charge. That's the bottom line, okay?
Okay.
And in order to be a good leader, you got to be a good follower. Everybody had a boss.
Right.
And that's the bottom line. Whatever your piece of the pie was, you operated that. The first thing you learn to do when you enter into a new job is you learn how everything that you had to do, you did it. Anybody under you, you made sure they had to be held accountable. Period. You were held accountable. All your subordinates held accountable. When somebody messed up, that you held them accountable. When your soldiers messed up, you as a commander
We're held accountable.
you were held accountable. You know, you passed authority, but you couldn't pass responsibility. Anyone under your command, whatever they screwed up, the buck stopped with you. That was the job. So when somebody had to be praised, you pointed down to your soldier. When there was blame to be shouldered, that blame stopped with you.
So it's
That's
very
what you
black and
did.
white.
You
Now-
protected your soldiers,
Right.
and they would go to the mat for you.
Now, if
As
you
an
got-
officer, you was not. You was a supervisor. You gave people their marching orders, but your people are the people that went out and did the work. So you made sure they were equipped, they were trained, they were educated, and they had a full understanding of what task conditions and standards. You ensured that was your job to as a leader. You made sure your people beneath you knew what their requirements
what
were, what
they-
their job, and you held them accountable.
Okay.
When they did well, pat on the back. When they screw you, pat them a little lower.
There you go.
That's right.
Because a lot of times now, what you just heard, that's a leader. Now you imagine somebody that come in that's not the alpha male,
Right.
that got lieutenant bars or captain bars. Now my particular situation happened with a captain. You've been at this point, I think I've been in the military about 6-7 years, and finally, you've seen black officers, but you don't always get them. You finally get one. He's a captain. He's he's in charge of the company. And you get this young lieutenant come in, first lieutenant is bucking for captain, and for some reason, we listen. Whatever the captain say is out the window, because all of the NCOs or the senior NCOs who look like this young white lieutenant that just come in are supporting the young white lieutenant and don't want that black captain. And so they're sabotaging, they're doing stuff, setting against them. And this young man, Jim, come in as a captain, he'd handle that. I think anybody sitting in the circle would come in and know how to handle that. But you get another brother, the wrong kind of brother come in that don't know how to handle that, that's kind of catering and bowing and scraping, well, okay, don't want to shake no trees. Well, if he don't do what he's supposed to do, then that affects the rest of his NCOs, black and white.
Right.
And so now I'm a brother looking at this captain bowing to this lieutenant, and that's when things just get all screwed up for me. Then you find you a sergeant major, you find you somebody else that's willing to step up, but that's a constant fight throughout the time I was in there. There was always a fight. There was always somebody coming in that didn't like a brother being in charge, whether it's you or somebody over you, and now you have to fight, and it was always, okay, if you want, they knew if Nick was going to do it, they'd have the sergeant major tell him. That lieutenant couldn't come tell me that, because I didn't have that respect for it until the point where they finally sent me to Fort. That's why I ended up with Fort Gordon, training officer. Well, since you don't like the officer we give you, then you train him. And that's why I ended up for my last 10 years training officers. But that went on. You can have a sergeant first class in charge of you, and they break him thinking it's gonna break you because you're lower rank and you're supposed to go along. And that just, no.
So what are some of the other frustrations that you all have had over the years in your respective experiences? And we can kind of go around and just share a little bit of what some of your frustrations were over the years and how you managed it.
You want to go Kurt with a K, or you want C with a Curtis with a C to go?
We'll break it up a little.
Okay,
Break it up.
we'll tag team.
Keep going around.
Yeah, we'll tag team.
Break it up. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have a story.
Okay.
Like Nick, I have a story. My situation.
You all right?
My situation was in the military. I had always excelled, always. From the not blowing my own horn, but I was number one in my A-Naught class, number one in my B-Naught class. I was number one in my AIT class. I'm that dude.
Okay.
So going through the military, everything that they said to do to get promoted, I did. They said you needed an extra duty on your resume. So I volunteered for recruiting. I wasn't a DA selected. I volunteered. Put that in there. Hold different positions in the platoon. I was a platoon sergeant. I was a training NCO. I was everything. Go to college. I went to college. I did everything they were supposed to do. And so when it was time to get promoted, for some reason, my white counterparts seemed to be ahead of me no matter what I did. As a matter of fact, when I was up for promotion to E8 and I didn't get selected, but this guy had been relieved from recruiting. I was a gold badge recruiter too. He failed as a recruiter. He was a dude that looked like he shined his boots with a Hershey bar. Y'all know that. Didn't cut his hair, didn't iron his uniform, and was a permanent profile for PT. But he got selected. So me being me, I needed to know what was wrong with Kurt Green.
Because you've done everything that they had
Everything
told,
that they had asked me to do.
Right.
So, and I'm a guy of logic. If you can show me why I didn't, but you can't tell me why this guy did, then I have a problem. So I had a problem with my sergeant major. Now I don't know if we into this area or not, but where I wanted to go to the Department of the Army to check my records, but was allowed to us. They would give you permissive TDY to go and check your records. So I was going, and I had a sergeant major that told me no, that I could not have permissive TDY to go to Fort Benjamin Harrison, Indiana, and check my records. I already knew that I could, but he told me no. So I went to my company. My company commander told me, we're gonna put you on a pass to go, since you can't take this permissive TDY that I'm authorized. Sergeant Major came back across the street and said, no, you're not gonna put him on a pass to go. So now we into the kiss my ass portion of the show, where I have no problem. I have leave. I'll put in 4 days of my own leave to go. When the Sergeant Major saw me do this, then he came back across the street. Oh, Sergeant Green, you were correct. You could take this permissive TDY. So now, now he's got to double back because this smart Negro done figured out a way around his system.
Right.
I went, and it was time for me to. I got promoted to Master Sergeant. This is where this P thing comes in. I was promotable, but I decided to get out of the military. Now everybody white wants to know why. So I went, my battalion commander came across the street, talked to me. He said, well, Sergeant Green, why do you want to get out of the military? And I said, well, sir, I have two answers, the professional answer and the way that I really feel. Which would you prefer? And he said, well, I'd like to hear the professional answer. And I said, well, sir, I have served my country faithfully for 20 years. And it's time for me to step aside and let some of them soldiers that I trained take over. He said that was a good professional answer. And he said, how do you really feel? And I said, well, this army is full of a bunch of prejudiced motherfuckers, and if I don't get out of here in a hurry, I'm gonna get in some kind of trouble. So then he asked my commander to leave the office. I said, no, sir. If we're gonna continue this conversation, then we're gonna have a witness. So nothing I said was misunderstood or misconstrued. Everything exactly what I said. You asked me, how did I feel?
Right.
And I get a little emotional about that when I move to that, because like I say, and I know this is not a part of, but Joe was one of my commanders.
It's part of your journey.
Yes. And he was one of the best commanders that I ever had in 20 years of service. And I can point to my brother over here. He's a guy that when I volunteered for recruiting, he's one that kept me from quitting, leaving recruiting. So I have a lot of what they say, a lot of skin in this game that we doing today. If it wasn't been for them, because if they wouldn't have been in my corner, I don't know what Kirk Green would have been today. I don't even know if that was the question you asked me, but
That's
I felt
okay.
I felt like
See,
sharing.
but no, and I know.
Recruitment, by the way.
But that, that is the point of this conversation, because I want you all to share, I want you to share, because I can feel that emotion. I can feel that frustration. I can feel the anger. We grew up in an era where I can remember my aunties and my daddy saying all the time, you got to work twice as hard.
Yep.
That's
To
right.
be what? Just as good.
Just as good.
Just as good. And when you do that, anticipating I'm doing what they've told me to do, and then I don't get the reward that I was told that I would get when I've done what it is that you told me to do, I do get a little ticked off. So it's important for the audience to understand that all of you have, all of you have worked hard, you have served with excellence, but you haven't always been recognized or acknowledged or rewarded. And that is the part that is shameful, that you haven't been recognized, you haven't been rewarded for what it is that you have done, and those that be do not understand how that makes you feel. Anybody else?
Yes. Everything everybody said, like you said, you feel the frustration.
Yes.
And I was also frustrated. And to help my brothers and sisters get their benefits, I wrote a book, A Warrior Married to His Wife and PTSD. I wrote this book when the VA robbed me for 78 months of my benefits because they said my celebrity status. And I said, that's not even a medical term. Well, you with Kool in the Gang, you with T.I. and Tiny. And I'm like, okay, I paid it forward, paid some light bills for the holidays. I made worldwide news on CNN, ABC News, Huffington Post. And as they took my benefits, God woke me up at 2 o'clock in the morning. He said, hey, I need you to write this book. And I turned around, I looked. I said, the devil is a lie, I'm going back to sleep. But I'm glad that he didn't go by, okay, Curtis Butler III, you going back to sleep. I'm glad that I got a chance to write the book, because now when I went to federal court for my benefits, the federal court, the government, when you go to court, this is how you know that the VA are really not your friends. When my attorney was reading stuff on my case, it was the worst case scenario. They characterized me on everything from El Paso, Texas, to Waco, Texas, all the way to Atlanta, Georgia. And I ended up winning the case, but then my attorney said, hey, you got some lawsuits as well. I had like 15 different lawsuits against 15 different healthcare workers who's supposed to help my brothers and sisters get their benefits. And I said, well, I want $1 million from each one. He said, you'll win the case, but the only thing is you wouldn't get the funds. So I said, well, like checkers, all money is not good money. So I said, well, what I'm gonna do is I'll go ahead and publish this book out, and hopefully one day I get to go in front of the White House, speak to the president, vice president, and the VA secretary, because as you notice, they're trying to pass a bill. They did one in California and New York. Undocumented immigrants get housing, food, and they get medical. Now, if you're a disabled veteran,
So,
Yeah.
and that's real. And that's real.
and Joe was with me when I was homeless. And if you're 0 to 40% disabled veteran, you don't get shit. You gotta be 50% to 100% to get your benefits. 100% to get dental and vision. 50% so that you go in the VA and get a VA card so they can see you. Now, when I was homeless, how can you tell your kids after doing 19 years in the service, you did security for the President of the United States and his staff, that you're homeless and you can't take care of your kids? How do you explain that to your kids?
Right.
You know, my dad is a hero, but he's homeless. How can you put hero and homeless in the same category? It's an oxymoron. So now, I have people now in the entertainment business. They're looking at the book, and I pray that somebody do a play or a movie, because this book needs to go to DC. They need to sit down and listen to us, because I'm feeling like this. Do veteran votes matter? Because if it did, we wouldn't have over
2.1 million.
2.1, yeah. You know, where, and it kind of goes back to what we were saying at the top, the 99% not understanding what goes on behind the closed doors, behind the veil. We were talking earlier about, you know, we see on CNN the happy reunions on the tarmac that first day, but we don't see what goes on that first night and beyond with getting the benefits. The country's been very good at preparing you all to go to war, to go to battle, to fight, but it's really done a very poor job of bringing you back home, assisting you and acclimating back into society, and giving you your due justice and what you deserve in health care and all of the other services, all of the other benefits that you are due. You should not have to come home and fight for what it is that you received while you were in the military. You should not have to come home and fight to get what you need to be well. You should not have to come home to fight to get what you need to take care of your family. You should not have to come home to fight to get what you need to be whole again.
The congressional people are not doing anything. I spoke with, I called them out before on the podcast on my Instagram, and I spoke with Reverend Senator Warnock. He said, "Well, you know, give me a call, and you know, we'll work." Okay, I called, nothing happened. Call, and then, you know, on the podcast, I said, when these guys coming for re-election, you never hear them say, we're gonna give the homeless veterans and displaced veterans $1 trillion like they gave Ukraine, Israel, and now we're getting ready to probably fund the war in Iran. Again, why are we getting put on the back burners, but they say we're heroes and they love us and respect us, but every single time we get put on the back burner, we get a kick in the ass and a sandwich and be happy with what you got. But if we stop,
It took me 15 years to get to 100%.
you see that, and that's the shame. You know, in the book I put, Mr. President, I said, when's the last time you seen a homeless general? Because I said, the non-commissioned officers are the backbone of the military, but why so much of us are homeless and displaced? But I can't get nobody from Congress to talk to me. I talk to the locals. I'm already past them because they're not doing anything, and it's like we promise the constituents this and that, but then when they go to DC, it's like, you know, they forget all about us, but they don't want to answer the tough questions. But I hope that Tamara Hall, CNN, any of the daytime or late night TV shows pick this up, because I'm ready to go to DC anytime they call me, and I'm probably going to take these brothers with me.
And again,
Or a homeless politician.
Yeah.
or a whole,
Yeah.
or so we're gonna move over here to Brother Joe. We're gonna come around, but we're gonna move over here because I meant earlier to ask you a question. I want you to share with the audience a bit of your journey and what has brought you to this point.
They are in no order. It all was situation dependent, which is based on rank of the individual, situation, and many other factors on how I approach the situation. I was what they called back then Combat Service Support Officer, Singapore. My first assignment as a LT was with Air Defense Artillery Battalion. I was a special staff officer. There were one black captain and one black major on staff. Not only did my race put me at a disadvantage, but being the only signal officer in the unit had its part as well. First of many times I would be in that situation. One positive, I had a seasoned black NCO, Master Sergeant retired George Decker, who taught me everything about our craft and was going to physically fight the black captain on staff on my behalf. 1986 to 87, I had just left the ADA battalion to go to the Division Signal Battalion. I was the Company XO, 1st Platoon for a racist West Point company commander. In that position, I rated all the headquarter NCOs, i.e. Motor Sergeant, Chemical Sergeant, along with the NCOs in my regular platoon. The Chemical NCO was a college-educated man. The commander had issues with that. Every time I submitted the NCO ER with 125, he was sending it back trying to get me to lower it. I said no. He asked why, and I like him, and why I like him so much. I said it's not a matter of like, he's doing his damn job. I put damn in there because he wanted to cuss, but he didn't.
I did not. We could curse when I wrote my note.
So that's
You're not gonna let him do that, right?
He is doing his damn job. Back then, we didn't have computers, so he was creating more work for the clerk. My next assignment in the same division was in Armor Battalion headquarters, staff as newly promoted captain and the only black on staff, consisting of SR captains and majors. I had several incidents during those 18 months, but I had proven myself on several exercises. I never backed down, especially when it came to my troops, white or black. Now see, that's the thing with us. I protected all of mine. I didn't care what color they were.
And it's to your point, what you were saying earlier, just doing your job.
I recall another situation when one of my soldiers was I can't remember what it was called, but he went through the training and had the medical bag. We had a Katusa get injured, and he grabbed his bag and patched him up. Specialist Duck is white. I put him in for impact AAM. I pulled him to the side and told him I did. I said, Duck, I put you in for this award, but they did not approve it. It's not anything that you did, but it's because of who I am. Motherfucker. That's what you wanted to say, right? Good? Okay. He knew the relationship I had with their leadership. He looked at me and said, I understand, sir. They did exactly that. But the old leadership was on their way out, so he ended up getting it anyway.
Okay. All right. So we have a few minutes left, and I want to hear from this side of the team as well, sharing some of your frustrations over the years in regard to the military and what you want the audience to know.
Okay. I started out in air defense, artillery, Hawk missile crewman, made it through the ranks, started out in Key West, Florida, vacation. Went over to Germany, learned my job for real. At the same time, I had this sergeant major, white battalion sergeant major. My wife, she was in the headquarters and I was in the Alpha Battery. Hours away from each other. So we went over to Greece, fire missiles off. Got a chance to sit next to him on the ride back with a C-130 and explain the situation. When I got back, a week later, I had orders to be in headquarters. Just white. So our major took care of me. That's where I looked at it. From there, I went back to Fort Bliss, Texas. Went in the Students Brigade training Germans in Hawk missile. And then all of a sudden I came up on to be a recruiter. I said, okay, I'm gonna go. Praying about where they're gonna send me.
Right.
They sent me close to home, put me in Trenton, New Jersey. I was so happy.
So because you were close to home at
I
that
was
point.
close to home.
Right.
Recruiting is a mission job. If you don't make your mission, your performance record is going to indicate it. And then promotions are out the question from there on. When I first got there, I was just a recruiter. The station was failing. The sergeant major came down and fired the guy. You're going to be the station commander. I said, okay, how do you fix this? Kurt came in with the K. I had an all-black recruiting station. Trenton, New Jersey. The rules were we supposed to call everybody constantly, be out in the streets. I changed that, and I got beat up for it too, because that wasn't the way to go about it.
Right.
You go up to church, talk to the kid's mom. Most of the families are one person household, one adult household.
Right.
The hardest thing for me while I was recruiting was somebody that I put in, and he died. And not died in war or anything like that.
Right.
He was hung at Fort Hood, Texas. He had wrote me and said, I can't make it here. These guys are after me. I thought he's paranoid.
Right.
But he winds up dead. And then I have to go tell the mother that they lost
Family.
their son.
Yeah.
And the way they lost their son.
And so, you know, what I'm hearing, the time that we have does not really afford the opportunity to really share the full scope of what you all are dealing with and what it is that the audience needs, because we didn't even touch on family.
That's right.
And how navigating the military and the family. But I wanted really for you all to have the opportunity to share, just from your heart, your experience as a soldier and how that has shaped you to the person that you all are today, because you all are retired and you all have, respective maybe second careers or things that you all are doing now, but you're still coexisting with some remnants of being in the military. Medical, mental health, fighting these battles that you shouldn't that you shouldn't have to fight for your medical benefits and so forth.
That's right.
And again, going back to a country that has not always honored or respected, acknowledged, appreciated your service and given you your due justice to each and every one of you. In this conversation that we have had, you've heard these stories, you've heard the journey. We've just touched on the surface of what it is that these gentlemen have encountered over the years as military personnel, what they encounter, what they coexist with today, and some of the silent challenges that each and every one of them have. I hope that you will I hope you've heard their voices. I hope you will have a better understanding of what it is that they have done, that they're doing, and that they continue to do, because they have served our country in an honorable fashion, and they have served our country so that you are able to live the life that you are living today. I am Paula G. I thank you all so much for being with us today, and until next time, embrace the journey.